Hello my friends, Sam here. This is yet another video about the Slishman Pressure Wrap. There was a comment recently where somebody said, your wrap is basically an ace wrap that has some Velcro in different spots. And my answer to that is, yes, you're right. But it took about 15 years to get to that point. And what I would say is that the devil is in the details. So I'm going to go through the history of the pressure wrap a little bit here and what led to this point. So for starters, this is the first tourniquet that got me down this road. Somebody handed this to me, said, can you make something better, something for a one-handed application? And I thought, this is super bulky, very heavy, very painful. I'm gonna try. And then it just simmered in my head for a long time. I'm not sure when the cat tourniquet came out. This is a cat knockoff. I hate the cat knockoffs because they break. But for demonstration purposes, I'll go through the things that I don't like. So even if I don't have a leg or an arm inside of this thing, I have to turn 180 degrees at a time. And then it reaches a point where I can't turn anymore because the inner band is fighting the outer band. And that exposes one of the main weaknesses. So if you don't make that first cinch very tight, then you run the risk of it failing. In addition, these hurt a lot. Every windlass design that has 180 degree set points, that's a long distance. These are big pressure jumps and they're quite painful. And you know, sometimes people will post things saying, well, you're saving somebody's life, it's going to hurt. My opinion is it matters. Pain matters, tissue destruction matters, and if you can do it with less pain, less tissue destruction, that's desirable. I didn't go to Gorillas R Us medical school, and I want to make something that has fine adjustability. So that became my target for a long time. So I went through all different types of iterations, bad designs for building a tourniquet. This is one of the first ones. It had a double side release buckle, so for the entrapped limb and easy removal. This was a little informed by the traction splint, where you pull a cord and two pieces come together. Terrible design. So what else did I build? I had this strap system. I thought maybe you could just go through a few different loops and pull tight, make that tight. Also no good. I thought maybe having something that's inelastic on the outside and elastic on the inside with an internal bladder. You pump it up and then this might curl around a limb. Another big old failure. And then this one here, this was insane. So I used a Raptor buckle for the release mechanism, and then had a screw system here so that you could finally adjust it. Gosh, there's so many bad designs that I've gone through. And also, I wish I had the prototype, but I worked with some Cal Poly students in 2012, 13, and they built something with a worm gear, and that was the closest to the mark. We actually did some testing, and they were able to finally adjust the pressure. So we can say no flow?
Yeah. I love how it just stays.
What's that?
And it doesn't unwind.
That's cool, huh? And now, actually, let's do a gradual back off and
Okay.
demonstrate that feature.
Should I back it off now?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, there's no calibration in this.
No, there it is. That was it right there. But at the end of the day, it's a bulky item, difficult to manufacture, be expensive, so hard road to go down that. So my mind shifted eventually towards elastic because, frankly, I thought the SWAT T was kind of a cool idea. But what I wanted was something that had the ability, an easier self-application, and also more fine adjustability. So I took a SWAT T, cut it down a little bit, put some holes into it, and then and carved out a little horn here. And I thought maybe I'll put a little pressure bandage on here as well. So the idea was to be able to I don't know how hard that is to see, but go around and around and around and just create pressure and be more easily adjustable. I went through all kinds of iterations with that, different sizes here. This actually turned out, this was an inner tube that I opened up, and it's surprisingly similar to the SWAT T width. I put a pressure pad on there, made some different horns. At one point I sewed Celox into it as well, or some kind of a, some granules, but, sorry, or hemostatic agents. And gradually over time I thought this is going to be difficult. So I also went into this realm here, so I thought maybe these are all different valves. So maybe I'll create a silicone bladder and then use a syringe and increase the size of that bladder and create some fine adjustability there. No luck. The idea of silicone was a deep rabbit hole, and I tested all different types of rubbers, durometers. I made a whole bunch of 3D prints to make a pressure point here. And ultimately what killed any of these was the fact that even if you make a small ding in rubber, it ruptures. So I don't have a knife on me, but you can see how that's the case here. So if you have a hole with a small ding, pull and just it's a rapid failure. So to me that's really what killed it. I took this so far that I made a die, and I was making my own at home. I was pressing holes through these rubber pieces, but it died a sad death. So shifted towards a product called Velstretch. This is something that, Velcro makes it, and it's actually quite nice, very soft and feels good. So what that led to was trying to find a buckle that would let someone put their arm through and then tighten. And you can see here the beginnings of putting these bits of Velcro along the way. So as you tighten, you pull and then lock it down. The negative of Velstretch, actually there were two negatives with this approach. One of them, the Velcro only really adheres to one side, and then when you make it wrapped, it's quite bulky. Additionally, when you use any of these buckle systems, what happens is your skin gets sucked into it, and you have skin pinch. So that sent me into a completely different path, which was all of this. And I have this tourniquet / pressure wrap to thank for learning CAD. So I got on free CAD, and I think this might be my first one, maybe this one, but I started to put loops together and 3D printing, sending things off to a company called Shapeways. They're not a sponsor. And I just generated all of these different things, and the idea was to have a mechanism that pushes skin out of the way as you cinch, so that you don't cinch the skin in. I don't know if you realize this, but the majority of tourniquets out there, there's a ton of skin pinch, and I think that's one of the main points of pain. So what I wanted was something that would push skin out of the way. That led to all of these, and then I realized Shapeways could make things out of metal. So, the downside with doing it this way, I wanted something like this where I could remove the strap easily too. But out of plastic, no good, it breaks. But could make it out of metal. So I found myself making a ton of different designs here, and eventually having this buckle, and that's when I did a deep dive into Slishman Pressure Wrap version 1, which was failure 700. And by the way, this is an additional, I call them rabbit holes, and it really is correct. I thought maybe what I could do is build these as adapters for tourniquets, like the cat tourniquet instead. So this could sit in the center, so I could get, 45 degrees, 90 degrees, just, different settings that are less than 180 degrees. But that was more just 3D design practice. Velstretch, I went through so many different types of materials, and then eventually, new rabbit hole, Alibaba. So I started writing to people in China to see if I could get neoprene, because try to find neoprene with UBL, unbreakable loops on both sides. Very hard in the US, and also turns out in China too. So I had to get some custom material here. This has UBL on both sides, so it's stretchy to some extent, and Velcro hooks will adhere to it on both sides. So you can see one of my past failures here. Anyway, that was almost good, but not good enough. What else happened here? I bought this, not stretchy at all. Here's what happened. In one of my drawers, I had this material here. And this was for the Slishman traction splint. We did some testing of a different material. This pilled too much, so it collected dust for about a decade, but it really works pretty well as a pressure wrap. And so I asked the company to custom make a few different sizes of this. One of them was 1 inch, another one was 2 inch, and another one was 1.5 inches. Actually 1.6 inches, but who's counting? And 1.6 inches won, in part because, the world of tourniquet people, they really like 1.5 and above. So that's what led me there. And that is what led to the first marketed Slishman Pressure Wrap product. And so here you go. It had the metal hook in there, and the idea was you put your limb through and pull tight, but the problem was it didn't cinch very well. It just, it was no good. It was no good. In addition, the Velcro hooks did not adhere very well to the fabric. And so what I did as sort of a workaround was I added this safety pin at the end. Thought wilderness medical people like safety pins, so I put that in, but turns out people didn't like that. Who needs a pin when there's bleeding around? So anyway, back to the drawing board. And really what killed it, one day, my friend Phil Carey, the person who started Rescue Essentials, he put this on his knee. He had a sore knee, and I could see how he struggled with it. And if anybody should be able to use this thing, he's the guy. He struggled, so I thought back to the drawing board. And I went home and made a slip sleeve. I thought maybe this will work, maybe this will work. And on day one, it just slipped. It was a beautiful thing. And there's no pinch, 0 pinch. So tourniquets hurt a lot, but this one, I can say, does not hurt. There is no skin pinch with this type of tourniquet. Now you'll notice that this still has the circular dots. So eventually we went with a different manufacturer that had a different material that adhered to the hooks a little bit better. And that's how we have this today. So the current version has these large rectangular hooks on here. Like hold tight, and now it works very well. So yes, it looks like an ace wrap. Yes, there's Velcro on it, but it took a long time to get here. There are other aspects of this wrap too that I could spend quite a bit of time on, and maybe I will here. So people say, why don't you sew some adhesive pad, or why don't you sew some pad into it? And to me, there are many aspects of bleeding control devices that are important and some that aren't. Direct pressure is important. I don't need this or this to be sewn into it. For a while I was putting, Velcro tabs onto these, but also just not worth it. People have gauze. They can go ahead and include that with the wrap if they want, but it's not an important thing. I don't think sterility is an important thing. That sounds a little odd coming from a doctor, but in this type of circumstance, you want direct pressure over the wound. We'll deal with the infectious disease issues later. Even the case itself, there's a lot of time that went into it. And, I wanted something that had a molly snap on the back, but also something that could be mounted on the side of a AED kit or on your dashboard. Even when I look at the label itself, this is just me on PowerPoint creating a graphic. I made this graphic and then I ordered it, and this is how it came out. I ordered one size, it came out 1/4 the size. So that's why it took 15 years to get to this point, people. Even this, I made a stamp to be able to stamp like the application time onto fabric. Terrible idea, but there's just a lot of ricocheting that you do when you build something. The way I view the world now is everything around us, somebody went crazy building. When I see this knob here, somebody went nuts trying to get that built. And the Slishman Pressure Wrap may look like a simple piece of elastic, and you're right, it is. But the devil is in the details. I hope it serves you well, and if you ever get to use it, please let me know. Any constructive criticism is very welcome along the way. And one other thing, I'm a mousetrap builder, but I also feel like kind of a mouse, and I'm bouncing between walls and going along the way, and I think that I am almost at a point, or even at the point where I have the perfect product, but I'm not sure about that, so please help me to be sure about that. Have a good day. Bye. So as I look at this, I realize this may expose my insanity to my wife. I have bought a lot of stuff through the years, and I feel like I'm a little bit crazy when it comes to product development. And this is going to reveal just how much money we've burned along the way, but hopefully it will be for the best. And I hope it will help a lot of people too. Okay, bye-bye.